Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be going through each of the Bloomburrow commanders, talking about, which one I think is the most interesting, which one, how you can potentially build them and everything like that. I've done it a little bit in the past, but I want to kind of talk about it a little bit more because I've kind of had a bit more time to think about them and get hype for them and be incredibly excited. All of these commanders, all the face commanders, I think are looking amazing. So I am incredibly excited to build them all and kind of go through them all, and I want to hear from you guys as well. I just uploaded a video that you guys can check out that is like a channel update, thanking you guys for all of your support so far. Everything that you guys have done has been amazing. Everything from, liking, sharing, commenting and stuff. We've hit 3,000 subscribers. And, it makes me emotional thinking about how amazing this has been. I've only been going for, 8 months and we're already kind of up there, and it's really great. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, if you want to continue supporting the channel, make sure you comment and, all that kind of stuff, and all that stuff helps us with the algorithm to kind of share it around to everyone. So we're going to start here with Bello, who is the face commander for the animated army precon. I got to have the names of the precons up. So this one here is based around, he animates essentially non-equipment and non-aura enchantments that are mana value 4 or greater. They get animated into a 4/4 elemental creature in addition to its other types, and has indestructible haste, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is obviously, built around mostly having non-equipment artifacts, non-aura enchantments, and then also just kind of having a lot of stuff to make use of that combat, make use of all of that kind of, go in, swing with your indestructible, hasted artifacts and stuff. So there's lots of different ways, and obviously the other part of it here is this mana value 4. This works really well with the actual base Bloomburrow raccoons. The base root Bloomburrow raccoons are built around expend, which is essentially when you spend 4 total mana, then you're going to get something. There is one as well that is expend 8, so you get something when you spend 8 total mana. But there's a lot of different ways that you can make use of, getting extra mana from this, or, exiling extra cards, and, lots of ways that this is going to buff up your actual creatures that then can work alongside those other artifacts and equipments and not equipments, other artifacts and enchantments. So the big thing here, which I don't think enough people are talking about, and at least I'm talking about, is vehicles. This is insane on vehicles. Now, keep in mind that, just because Sky Sovereign here is a 6/5, it will not stay as a 6/5. It will become a 4/4. But it does get animated. It will turn into an elemental. It, in addition to its other types, so it's still a vehicle, still all that stuff. It still has, flying, still has its abilities, all that kind of stuff. So all of these things here are all going to proc off of it still. It will be, as I said, a 4/4, but you get to throw it at people, and you can just animate all of your different vehicles and send them at everyone. It just looks really crazy. I think vehicles is the best and most interesting way to build him. We haven't really had a Gruul kind of, vehicle commander. There's been some that are similar, but this is a straight up can animate all your vehicles, kind of throw them at people. I am very interested to build this up. I actually just built a vehicle deck with what's his name? Edward Kenway. So this is going to be another vehicle deck that I'm going to be building here. But obviously the other one here you can go is like just a big mana deck, and just build it with big mana stuff, and kind of, use all these creatures that tap and create mana and stuff. And then from there, use it to build some of these huge kind of utility artifacts, and not obviously the equipment ones there, but like, Great Henge, and you've got all the enchantments like Warstorm Surge here, and bigger on the inside, some really great, not bigger on this side, sorry, like a Sandworm and Convergence, all these kind of big artifacts and big enchantments. They're all going to get animated, and kind of you can throw them at people and get some really great value from just having these big enchantments that are already doing great stuff, but now they're turning into big, animated elementals that you're throwing at people as well. So, big mana definitely looks interesting on him too. Right, the next one here is Zenia. So Zenia is from the Family Matters precon, built around, you know, offspring and stuff, and he's going to give all of your creature spells offspring. Then he gets buffed up based on the amount of just one. They just have to have base power 1, keep in mind. They don't have to have 1 toughness 2, and he gets buffed up based on that. And because obviously he's a flyer, you can swing him in when you've got an army of 1/1s and just kind of get that commander damage in really easily. So he obviously synergizes well with the base set offspring mechanic. Obviously, most things will already have offspring in here because he gives offspring to them, but technically you should have 2 different versions of offspring on each creature then. So say for example this Steam Path Charger, he will have offspring 2, I believe. So you should be able to create 2 1/1 copies of him when it comes in. Or something like Thundertrap Trainer, which has Offspring 4, obviously, to kind of balance it a little bit more. Now you're giving it Offspring 2 instead, which means you're going to be able to create that clone very, very easy. Now, speaking of clones, I think that that's probably one of the best ways to build him and just have some really insanely great kind of ETB kind of stuff. You know, so you've got some other things in here that create clones and stuff that you can kind of send at stuff. So like the instance of sorcery, taking kind of this kind of stuff from here, and then from there having all of those kind of clones out and stuff. You can then do some like crazy stuff with like, you know, ETBs and stuff. So, and then obviously the other thing you can just go is tokens. So like, you know, Akim Roaring Wind creates 1/1 bird tokens. They're 1/1, or Kaikar here creates 1/1 white spirits, 1/1 again. So you've got, you know, that 1 power that we kind of need there. So you can just create a lot of different kind of tokens that are 1 from everything, and then just buff up your commander from there, as well as stuff like, you know, ETBs. Doubling each ETB that you have is going to be crazy great. Alltech Matterweaver here, like something like that, where whenever you cast a creature spell, you get to create more gnomes. Having 2 Alltech Matterweavers out is going to be really, really great. You can also, you know, add in some of those cards that remove the legend rule, obviously, so that way, because technically Zenia, like creating the offspring, doesn't get rid of the legends rule. So the legends rule will technically exist, and while you will get the double of the ETBs, you'll then need to sacrifice that token straight away. But what if instead we had, like, you know, Cadric, and then we've got, like, you know, we can have technically like 2 of these big like commanders out, or that can kind of work alongside him, or, you know, some of these big creatures having multiple of those. You could have 2 Ojatarks, because why not? Just kind of bypassing that. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make use of, 1, the fact that he is creating a lot of tokens, and 2, the fact that he allows you to essentially clone everything that can come in. You can also just build in Blink, like, just because you want to have a lot of great ETBs, because you're going to be doubling your ETBs base because Zenia is creating the offspring. You can just have a lot of ETB stuff in there, and then use like Jeskai stuff. Like, you know, we're in blue and white here, so there's an insane amount of, you know, like a Cloud Blazer here, just create double of those, and like just double all these ETBs purely from just having that, and then add in, like, you know, Displacer Kitten or something to just make it so that you're blinking stuff, and then just do bigger stuff. All right, next one here is Hazel of the Root Bloom. So she is the face commander for the Squirrels deck, Squirreled Away, and she is based around tokens. So mostly squirrel tokens, but she works with any tokens. I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there with food as well, so food and squirrel tokens. She taps, she adds mana, and then at the end she gets to essentially populate. Right at the end, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. If it's a squirrel, you get to create 2 tokens. So the base squirrels here are built around the forage mechanic, which is sacrifice a food or exile 3 cards from your graveyard to do something. Personally, I like Camellia more, right? I like Camellia more as like the face commander, potentially. I don't know. I like her more than I like Hazel, but we have to see the rest of the deck to kind of see it. But Hazel works really well with obviously going wide, huge squirrels, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, Chatterfang here, create a lot of tokens, and then there's not actually a squirrel typal in EDH, right? Otherwise I would have brought that up. But, you know, I think Chatterfang's like the only squirrel commander that most people use. There's probably other ones, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So, you know, it's essentially, you know, using Chatterfang kind of decks for Hazel there. So, you know, like one of the ways you can go is obviously squirrels here and just go really wide with squirrels and then copy that. But I think that's boring. And if we're talking about purely the face commander here, why not do something crazy like Golgari clones? We could go Golgari clones / populate, because again, Hazel does essentially like a populate at the end of each end step. So you could do some big kind of clone-ish kind of things here, create a whole bunch of tokens, primal vigor up things, you know, create just a crazy amount of really great kind of tokens, and then from there use those tokens with Hazel to spread out and go big, and then use like, you know, food or squirrel tokens or something like that on the side to be able to allow her to tap and create a lot of mana. Lots of great ways to be able to go that way. All right, so the last one here is Miss Bumbleflower, who I will say is probably the most interesting. I think the most interesting. I think she's the one I'm most excited for. So she is a group hug commander. She, whenever you cast spells, she gets to make someone draw a card. Whenever you cast a spell, make someone draw a card. That's important later. And then you get to put a +1/+1 onto something and give something flying. If this is the second time this ability has resolved, you draw 2 cards. So this is only if this is the second time. So you draw, you play a card, you give someone else a draw, and put a +1 something. The second time you do this part, plus you get to draw 2 cards, and then the third time it switches back to you just drawing something, you giving a draw to someone, and then a +1/+1 on something. So obviously you can go group hug and, like, you know, that kind of thing, just pure group hug based, and, you know, hand out friends and make friends with everyone, give everyone card draw, and then apparently this deck in here, the Peace Offering deck, does have ways to be able to make use of and be able to grow bigger. You know, to make use of the fact that you're group hugging everyone. But you could just build it as a group hug deck. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of different group hug stuff that would be great. I love these group hugs that are like, hey, everyone, you get to do something. And then if they do it, then you get to do it. So like, you know, Master of Ceremonies, everyone gets to either make a treasure, make a friend, or draw a card. And then you get to do that based off what everyone chooses. Big way to be able to do it. Or there's other ways, right? We could go stacks. So, for example, stuff like Smothering Tithe. You're giving card draw to everyone. You get to create a lot of tokens. Most likely this kind of stuff is going to be in the group hug deck anyway. But, you know, you could just go like a stacks heavy deck with it. And then based off of, you know, the stacks and giving people card draw, you get benefits based on them drawing cards and stuff. And then, you know, you just pillow fort yourself up and just kind of hide away. Or you could go with a storm theme. This is the insane, this is the crazy one that I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about. You go Bant Storm. So, because of the fact that this is whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card, if you can find a way to be able to purely cast a lot of spells in one turn, where you're casting everything, right? If you cast enough cards in a turn, cast enough spells in a turn, you could just deck someone out. So, you know, using like a wheel theme, essentially, it's kind of like a wheel theme where everyone's drawing cards, you make everyone draw all their cards out, and then because you're making everyone draw more cards than you are, you could just essentially draw their whole decks out into their hand, and then from there they just, you know, end up losing the game because they have no card draw. Like, they can't draw anything. It's impossible for them to. Alrighty, so for the summary, I do think that Miss Bumbleflower has the most interesting decks you can build from her. You can build her so many different ways that I think it will be crazy fun. I don't know if the kind of, the actual precon's going to be built any particular way or anything like that. Most likely it's going to be just built around pure group hug and then kind of getting value from that. But I think that, she has the most interesting kind of face commander from the set. I do also like Bellow a lot, though. Bellow is probably a very, very close second because of the fact that you can just animate so many different really great artifacts, really great enchantments, and then because of the fact that it's, built around these mana value 4 or greater, we just know there's going to be a lot of ramp in there and a lot of ways to be able to make use of the fact that you're going to be casting these big things too. I think the least interesting one is Hazel, though. I do like the idea of a populating kind of commander there, and, being able to get a whole bunch of mana based off of those tokens and stuff. And you can build her a food deck too, which wouldn't be too bad, a food squirrel deck, especially given the base set. But I don't know, there's something that I just don't particularly like all that much about her. I also don't like the fact that you need to pay 2 life for this, but if you're going a food deck, you're going to have plenty of life anyway. The third, probably very close to Bellow, but third I would put Zenia in regards to the most interesting. I think Zenia is good in regards to the different ways you can build him. You could build him a lot of different ways, whether it's, clones, whether it's just ETBs, whether it's, a go really wide, big board. But I just don't think he's got it on Bellow. I think that Bellow's just very, very, very interesting commander. As for which one I think is going to be the strongest, I do think that Zenia is probably going to be the strongest. I think just purely being able to give every creature that comes in a second copy of them. I don't know. Is there another commander that creates clones that easily? Is there another commander that creates clones that easily? When something enters in, just purely clone it? Because, that's pretty crazy. Obviously, you do have the whole, Legends rule still there and everything, but that's pretty easy to bypass. There's a lot of different stuff. I guess Riku's probably the closest. Yeah, Riku's probably the closest here. And he's costing 5, while Zenia is 3, and you get the additional stuff there. And also different colors too. Or Miram as well, true. So, I think that Zenia's the one that can easily go really, really bonkers too. And I think Mr. Bumbleflower as well. Mr. Bumbleflower is going to have so many different win cons. And, even if you're casting a lot of spells, then you're also buffing something up too and giving it flying. Whether it just says also target creature. So technically you can send Miss Bumbleflower at their face, and looking at her, she is not going to go easy on them. So I'd love to hear from you guys which one you guys are most interested in. Which one do you guys think is the strongest? As I said, I think the strongest is going to be Zenia, followed by Bumbleflower, and then Bellow and Hazel. As for the most interesting, I think it's Bumbleflower, then Bellow, then Zenia, then Hazel. But actually, Zenia and Bellow are close. These two are really close. I think Miss Bumbleflower is the most interesting by far, but then these two are really close with Bellow just edging out. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Have a great day and goodbye.